When most women hear the phrase self-care, they instantly picture something elaborate. A day at the spa, a bubble bath with candles lit around the tub, maybe even a weekend getaway in some quiet cabin unplugged from the world. Those images are beautiful, but here's the reality. They feel completely out of reach for women who are juggling careers, households, relationships, and responsibilities that never seem to stop multiplying. So what happens? You push self-care off the list because you think it requires a block of time you don't have. You convince yourself you'll do it when things slow down, but things never slow down. The truth is, self-care doesn't require hours. It requires a shift in perspective. It's not about how long you do it. It's about the fact that you do it at all. Think about how often you spend 10 or 20 minutes lost in distraction. Maybe you scroll on your phone, hop between apps, check emails that don't matter, or watch a video you didn't even plan on watching. Suddenly, you've lost 20 minutes, and it hasn't improved your life one bit. Yet when it comes to dedicating those same 20 minutes to yourself, your mind jumps to excuses. I don't have time. I'm too busy. The kids need me. The laundry is waiting. I'll do it tomorrow. You know those phrases because you've said them. But here's the thing. Self-care isn't something to get around to. It's something you choose deliberately because you understand that the energy you bring to everything in your life depends on the way you treat yourself. The biggest lie women have been sold is that caring for yourself takes hours. It doesn't. You don't need to block off half your Saturday. You don't need to wait until you can afford the retreat. You don't need a long, luxurious morning routine that looks Instagram-worthy. What you need is to reframe what self-care means. It's not about luxury, it's about maintenance. It's the difference between ignoring the oil light on your car until the engine breaks down versus taking it in for a quick oil change. You wouldn't run your car without fuel or maintenance and expect it to keep running. Yet how often do you run yourself down and expect to keep performing at your best? When you accept that self-care can be small, short, and simple, everything changes. A 20-minute walk outside is self-care. Sitting with a cup of coffee in silence before anyone else wakes up is self-care. Writing down what you're grateful for is self-care. Stretching your body between meetings is self-care. The actions themselves don't matter as much as the commitment behind them. You're telling yourself, I matter enough to pause. I matter enough to recharge. That small declaration, repeated daily, creates massive ripple effects in your energy, your mood, and your resilience. Women often carry the weight of believing they have to earn rest, that the work has to be done, the house has to be spotless. The to-do list has to be checked off before they're allowed to slow down. But here's the harsh truth. The list will never be done. The demands will never disappear. There will always be something waiting for you. If you keep tying your well-being to a day when everything is magically handled, you're setting yourself up to run on empty forever. The smarter move is carving out those pockets of time even in the chaos, especially in the chaos. The resistance to short bursts of self-care usually comes from an all-or-nothing mindset. You think if you can't dedicate an entire hour, it doesn't count. If you can't get to the gym for a full workout, why bother moving at all? If you can't journal for 30 minutes, then one page won't make a difference. But this mindset is exactly what keeps women stuck. The truth is, the consistency of 20 minutes every day will outwork the occasional big gesture every time. It's the daily drip of effort that fills your cup, not the rare overflow that happens once in a while. Imagine for a moment if you actually believed 20 minutes mattered. Imagine starting your day with a short meditation or a stretch before anyone else needs you. Imagine taking a quick walk at lunch instead of scrolling through your phone. Imagine ending the night by writing down 3 things you're proud of. That's not complicated, and it doesn't require anyone else's permission. Those small moments, repeated daily, become a shield against burnout. They remind you that your life isn't just about what you do for everyone else. It's about what you allow yourself to receive, even in small doses. Self-care doesn't require hours because your nervous system doesn't need hours to reset. Research shows that even short practices like deep breathing, walking, or pausing for intentional reflection lower cortisol, regulate your mood, and improve focus. That means 20 minutes is enough to change your entire state. And once your state shifts, so does the way you handle everything else. Instead of snapping at your kids, you have patience. Instead of dreading that next meeting, you show up with more clarity. Instead of crashing into bed exhausted, you end the day with a sense of balance. Here's the other layer. When you believe self-care requires hours, you also hand away your power. You set up impossible conditions that make it easy to give up. You let yourself off the hook because I don't have 3 hours. Sounds like a reasonable excuse. But when you decide that 20 minutes is enough, suddenly there are no excuses left. Everyone has 20 minutes. It might mean saying no to something else. It might mean putting your phone down. It might mean asking for help. But 20 minutes is always available if you're willing to claim it. There's also a mindset shift that happens when you practice self-care in shorter time frames. You stop treating it like a luxury and start treating it like a necessity. You stop waiting for permission and start creating opportunities. You stop telling yourself, maybe one day, and start telling yourself, today. That's the kind of shift that doesn't just change your calendar, it changes the way you see yourself. Because here's the deeper truth. The way you treat yourself teaches everyone else how to treat you. When you constantly put yourself last, when you refuse to carve out even 20 minutes, you're sending the message that your needs don't matter. You're teaching the people around you that your role is to give, not to receive. But when you create a boundary around 20 minutes of self-care, you send a different message. You show your kids that taking care of yourself is normal. You show your partner that your energy matters. You show yourself that your worth isn't tied to productivity alone. Self-care doesn't require hours. It requires a decision that your well-being is not optional, a decision that you don't have to prove you're worthy of a break, a decision that the small things count just as much as the big things, a decision that 20 minutes is not just doable, it's powerful. When you think about change, you often think big. Big goals, big plans, big overhauls. You tell yourself you'll finally get healthy when you have time to join the gym and go 5 days a week. You'll start journaling when you can commit to writing pages every morning. You'll meditate when you can block off a full half hour without interruptions. The problem with thinking big is that it creates pressure. It makes change feel heavy, overwhelming, and unsustainable. That pressure is exactly why most women end up quitting before they ever really begin. You don't fail because you can't change. You fail because you try to change too much, too fast, and you set yourself up for exhaustion instead of progress. That's why the real transformation comes from something most people underestimate: tiny habits. Tiny habits are the small, consistent actions you repeat every single day. They don't look impressive in the moment. They don't feel like they're changing your life instantly. But over time, they add up to massive impact. Think about a single drop of water. On its own, it seems insignificant. But drop after drop after drop, and over weeks, months, and years, water carves through stone. That's the power of repetition. That's the power of tiny habits. When you're busy, the idea of adding one more thing to your day feels impossible. Your calendar is already packed. Your responsibilities don't leave space for extra. But here's the truth. The size of the action doesn't matter as much as the consistency of it. 5 minutes of journaling every day will change your clarity more than writing once a month for 2 hours. 10 minutes of stretching each night will do more for your energy than a random workout once in a while. A quick walk outside will lift your mood more consistently than waiting for that one vacation to finally relax. Tiny habits bypass the need for massive amounts of time and instead give you small wins that build momentum. Here's what most people miss. Habits compound. One good choice today makes the next choice easier tomorrow. If you drink 1 glass of water first thing in the morning, you're more likely to keep drinking water throughout the day. If you take 5 minutes to breathe deeply before your meeting, you're less reactive when stress hits later. If you write down 3 wins before bed, you go to sleep with gratitude and wake up ready to look for more wins. None of those take long, but each one plants a seed. Over time, those seeds grow into a foundation of resilience and balance that you can lean on no matter how chaotic life gets. Tiny habits also remove the perfection trap. You don't need the perfect environment, the perfect mood, or the perfect timing to start. You just need to start small enough that resistance can't talk you out of it. Your brain loves efficiency. It loves easy wins. That's why scrolling your phone feels so addictive. It's an easy habit that gives your brain a quick hit of stimulation. The same thing can happen with habits that actually serve you. Once you've done a 5-minute meditation for a week straight, your brain starts expecting it. It becomes part of your rhythm. You don't have to fight yourself to make it happen, and from there, you can build on it. Tiny doesn't mean stagnant. Tiny means achievable. Tiny means sustainable. Tiny means the doorway to bigger things when you're ready. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't argue with yourself about whether you should do it. You don't put it off until the weekend. You don't skip it because you don't have a full 30 minutes to devote to dental hygiene. You do it because it's ingrained. It's a habit. It takes minutes, but it prevents problems that would cost you hours, money, and pain down the road. Self-care works the same way. A small daily habit protects you from bigger breakdowns later. 5 minutes of calm today saves you from burnout tomorrow. 10 minutes of moving your body now saves you from the sluggishness that derails your focus later. The tiny things aren't just convenient, they're protective. The magic of tiny habits is that they shift your identity. When you write for 5 minutes a day, you begin to see yourself as a writer. When you meditate for even 2 minutes a day, you see yourself as someone who prioritizes peace. When you move your body for 10 minutes every day, you start to see yourself as active. And once your identity shifts, your behavior follows. You don't have to force yourself to do it anymore. It becomes part of who you are. That's why the impact is so massive. You're not just changing what you do, you're changing the way you see yourself. It's easy to overlook the power of small because it doesn't give you instant gratification. You might not see a dramatic transformation after 1 week of 5-minute walks. You might not notice a huge difference after a month of journaling a few lines. But look at the bigger picture. A year of daily walks adds up to hours of movement that improve your health, your mood, and your creativity. A year of journaling builds pages of insights that help you understand yourself better. These are the things that stack up in the background, quietly reshaping your life without you even realizing it, until one day you look back and think, I feel different. I am different. Another important piece is that tiny habits work with your lifestyle instead of against it. You don't have to rearrange your entire schedule. You don't have to wait for the kids to grow older or for work to calm down. You can insert small habits right where you are. While the coffee brews, you can write down a goal for the day. While you're waiting for a meeting to start, you can take deep breaths. While you're brushing your teeth, you can think of 3 things you're grateful for. You stack new habits onto old ones, and suddenly they stick. You've created a rhythm that doesn't feel like a chore, it feels like part of the flow of your day. And here's something most women don't realize. The people around you benefit too. When you commit to small daily habits that keep you grounded, your family gets a more patient version of you. Your coworkers get a more focused version of you. Your friends get a more present version of you. Those tiny habits ripple outward, touching every part of your life. They're not selfish, they're generous, because the better you feel, the more you're able to show up in every role you play. Tiny habits also build trust with yourself. Every time you keep a small promise, you're proving to yourself that you follow through. You're building confidence in your own word. If you say, I'll stretch for 5 minutes tonight, and you actually do it, that builds integrity. Over time, that integrity snowballs. You begin to believe yourself again. You begin to feel capable. That's when the bigger goals become possible, because you've built the muscle of consistency through the smaller ones. When you recognize the power of tiny habits, you stop waiting for a miracle and start creating change on your own terms. You stop wishing you had hours and start using the minutes you already have. You stop telling yourself that small doesn't count, and you start seeing that small is exactly what makes big possible. There's a belief many women carry that productivity is measured by output. The number of tasks checked off, the hours worked, the plate spun in the air without letting one drop. Productivity has been sold as the hustle, the grind, the nonstop pushing forward even when your body is screaming for rest. But here's the reality. Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about showing up better. It's not about how much you cram into your day. It's about how effectively you use the energy, focus, and clarity you have. And that's where loving yourself comes in. When you neglect yourself, your productivity suffers. You run on fumes, you push through exhaustion, and you call it strength. But it's not strength. It's survival mode. Survival mode robs you of creativity, patience, and the ability to think clearly. You make mistakes you wouldn't normally make. You react instead of respond. You're drained. And drained people don't produce their best work. Yet society rewards that exhaustion. People praise your busyness. They applaud your ability to juggle. But inside, you know you're falling apart. What no one tells you is that the most productive thing you can do is care for yourself. Loving yourself is productivity because it ensures you're not just functioning, you're thriving. Think about it. When you get enough rest, your brain processes faster. When you nourish your body, your energy lasts longer. When you take time to breathe, you lower stress and sharpen your focus. Those things directly impact how well you perform, whether it's in the office, at home, or in your relationships. Self-love isn't indulgent, it's efficient, it's strategic. It's the fuel that powers the machine. Without it, you stall. With it, you soar. Women often believe they have to sacrifice themselves to get everything done. Skip meals, skip sleep, skip joy, because the work must come first. But that's backwards. The work doesn't come first, you do. When you are depleted, the work takes longer. The energy drains faster. The mistakes multiply. The very thing you're trying to protect, your productivity, crumbles because you've neglected the source of it. Productivity doesn't start with action, it starts with energy. And energy is a byproduct of how well you care for yourself. Loving yourself also sets boundaries that protect your productivity. When you value yourself, you stop saying yes to everything that pulls you in 10 different directions. You stop pouring into obligations that drain you dry. You become intentional about what deserves your time and what doesn't. That boundary is a form of self-love, and it makes you more productive because it keeps your attention focused where it truly matters. Without self-love, you spread yourself too thin. You confuse being busy with being effective, but when you love yourself enough to say no, you open space for the things that actually move you forward. There's also the emotional side. Loving yourself builds resilience, and resilience is essential to productivity. Challenges will come. Obstacles will show up. People will demand things from you. If you're running on empty, those challenges knock you down harder and keep you there longer. But if you've invested in yourself, if you've filled your own cup, you bounce back faster. You don't waste as much time in the spiral of frustration or exhaustion. You adapt. You find solutions. You keep going without burning out. That's productivity in its purest form, moving forward with clarity no matter the circumstances. It's easy to think of self-love as soft, like it's about pampering or positive affirmations in the mirror. But loving yourself isn't soft. It's discipline. It's telling yourself the truth. It's holding yourself accountable to get the rest you need, to fuel your body, to give yourself space to think. It's cutting out the habits that sabotage you, like staying up too late scrolling or overcommitting to things you don't care about. That discipline is a form of love, and it pays you back in sharper focus, stronger energy, and more consistent results. Think about the times you've been at your best, the moments when you felt unstoppable. Chances are, you weren't running yourself into the ground then. You had balance. You were sleeping well, moving your body, taking time to recharge. That's when ideas came faster, conversations flowed more easily, and tasks felt lighter. That's not a coincidence. That's the direct result of self-love. When you treat yourself like someone worth caring for, your productivity doesn't just improve, it multiplies. Here's another perspective. Loving yourself reduces wasted time. When you don't care for yourself, your brain runs foggy. You reread the same email 5 times. You procrastinate because you're too tired to start. You avoid decisions because you're overwhelmed. Hours slip away, and you end the day feeling unaccomplished. But when you prioritize yourself, your mind is sharper. You make decisions faster. You focus longer. You actually save time because you're not battling fatigue and stress every second of the day. That's the irony. People think self-love takes time, but in reality, it gives you time back. Loving yourself also makes your productivity sustainable. Anyone can push hard for a week, a month, maybe even a year. But the long-term game requires maintenance. If you neglect yourself, eventually you break. Burnout hits, your body rebels, your motivation disappears. You can't fake productivity forever. But if you build your life on a foundation of self-love, you can keep going. You can achieve more over the long haul because you're not constantly stopping to recover from breakdowns. Loving yourself ensures you can keep showing up, year after year, without losing yourself in the process. And there's one more piece people overlook. Loving yourself improves the quality of what you produce. When you're energized, your creativity sparks. When you're rested, your ideas connect more clearly. When you feel balanced, you approach challenges with perspective instead of panic. That quality matters more than sheer volume. You could churn out dozens of half-hearted tasks when you're exhausted, or you could produce one piece of work that actually moves the needle because you're centered. Productivity isn't just quantity, it's quality. Loving yourself guarantees the quality stays high. The connection between self-love and productivity becomes undeniable once you experience it. You realize that saying no to 1 more hour of work in exchange for sleep means the next day you'll accomplish double in half the time. You realize that taking 20 minutes to walk clears your head and gives you the solution to the problem you've been stuck on for days. You realize that stopping to breathe before a meeting helps you walk in with confidence instead of tension. These are not coincidences. They are the direct results of loving yourself enough to prioritize your well-being. When you finally understand that loving yourself is the root of productivity, everything shifts. You stop measuring your worth by how busy you are. You stop punishing yourself for needing rest. You stop equating exhaustion with achievement. You start to see that the version of you who is well-rested, nourished, centered, and cared for is the version who produces the best results, both at work and in life. Loving yourself is not separate from productivity. It is productivity